Today we're going to be doing intermediate. I'm going to show you traditional grip and I'm going to show you this is Clayton Skinner. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Beat. Welcome to Beyond the Beat. My name is Clayton Skinner, and in this episode I'm going to teach you the Moeller pump. The Moeller pumping motion, or the Moeller method for that matter, was created by observing how military snare drummers used to play their snare drums when they were marching. It was noted that they were using their entire arms rather than just their wrist to achieve more power by using less energy. Now this is weird at first to try to understand because usually you're always told that the less muscles you use, the faster you can go. In some cases with the Moeller method, by using more parts, it actually lessens the workload of the one muscle, and you can actually achieve faster hits by using more than one muscle as opposed to just constantly using the same one. We'll get into that a little bit further on. So let's get started on the basics. Now, in order to get this going, you have to kind of put aside a lot of the things you've already learned. Like I said, everything else we've done or worked on has been about moving just your wrists, keeping your arms completely stationary. You're only using your arms to move your wrists in a position. With this, that's not necessarily true. With this now, we're going to have to use almost our entire arms. It's a very, very flowing way of moving. And you almost want to start off by just doing some crazy flopping around exercises just to kind of loosen yourself up. You don't have to do that. It helps though. Anyway, first of all, I'm going to show you how to do it with just the German grip. And then I'm going to teach you how to do it with match grip. So obviously just whatever I'm doing with my right hand, if you play the same thing with your left, just mimic the same thing with your left hand. And then we'll work on traditional grip as well. Okay. I'm going to begin with match grip. And by match grip, I mean German grip. Because regardless of whether you play match grip or traditional grip, one of your hands has to hold a German grip. It's just the way it is. So anyway, now I'm going to show you the full movement of it. It's not crazily important that you have to learn the full movement, because obviously when you're playing fast, which is what you're going to be trying to do to be in the end or in the long run, you don't necessarily have to do the full movement all the time. But it's a good idea to practice it, because by doing that nice and slow, you develop the muscle memory so that when you start to shrink it down to get faster speeds, your technique will be better. It'll also help you stay more relaxed. So with the match grip or the German grip, we're going to start off with our hand kind of in like a 4 o'clock position. It's going to be hovering just over the head of the drum. This is just a practice pad, but oh well. Pretend it's a snare. So you're going to start from this position. You then want to take your hand, you want to push it out all the way so you're almost in about a 3 o'clock position. Almost like you're blocking something or even throwing a punch. You then want to bring your hand all the way up so that the stick's pointing down, elbow is up. And then by bringing your elbow down and slowly bringing your wrist down, you get that whipping motion when you bring the stick down to hit the drum head. So there's a lot of arm movement and there's a lot of wrist movement involved in this, and it kind of has to flow. So let's try that again. I'm going to play it a little bit more smooth this time. Start. Get that nice whipping motion. And like I said, you don't necessarily have to master this. You just want to kind of understand how the movement goes, because as you shorten it to achieve faster speeds, it will help you in the long run. So let's just keep that in mind. Okay, so traditional grip. Now, traditional grip, the movement is very different. With match grip, you move your hand out as the first movement. With traditional grip, when you're starting from the position, the stick hovering just above the drum, you actually want to bring your hand in, almost invert it upside down as a starting point. So you start here, bring it around. From there, you bring the stick up again so that it's pointing straight from the ceiling all the way down to the drum, pointing directly down. And then you'll bring your elbow down again, your wrist up, and you'll use that whipping motion to hit the drum head. So here's it a little bit quicker. Again, this technique doesn't necessarily need to be mastered, but it should be worked on. Because, especially with your left hand, if you're playing traditional grip, the technique for this is really important because usually that is your opposite hand. And you should know by now that obviously working your opposite hand requires a little bit more energy and a little bit more concentration than working your dominant hand. Because obviously that's not your strongest hand. So, just take your time and really work the movement out. So now that we've got the big movement down, let's try and figure out a nice short movement. Because like I said, you're going to want to shorten these movements in order to achieve greater speed. So this is what we're going to do. Rather than bring your hand all the way out, up, and down for the German grip, or for the match grip, just want to bring it up slightly, maybe about shoulder level, and practice just whipping it. Bring it up like it's the cobra about to strike. And then use that to whip down. Up, down. With traditional grip, you still want to bring your hand around, but then you'll bring it up to about chest height and then whip it back around again. I don't know how to describe this one. Or what kind of animal to use, I mean. Just make sure you have that motion down. It can get even shorter than that, too. Now, I mentioned earlier that by using big movements, using more muscle groups can actually help you to, in this case, actually help you to achieve faster speeds. I'm going to elaborate on that now. So we were working on this. We were working on the whipping motion, bringing the hand and the elbow up to achieve another whip to hit the drum. Now, while you're doing this up and down movement, you can actually, by either bouncing or controlling the stick, you can achieve more hits as you're bringing the stick back up again. Now this is very commonly used in groupings of 4, groupings of 3, and then groupings of 2. 2 is actually the most common. Now, we're going to work on the 4s. We're going to do 4s with each hand now. As we get faster, you're going to want to go from guiding it to actually bouncing. So let's just work on that right now. So first of all, we'll start off with the first initial hit, which is the whipping motion on the top of the drum. As you're bringing it up again, you can, depending on how many you want to do, in this case we're going to do 4, you can tap the drum 4 times, or 3 times after the initial tap, bringing it down again for the 4th hit, or the first hit, depending on how you want to count it. So, I know that's probably confusing you, but here, just listen to this demonstration. With the left hand, same thing. As you bring your stick down to whip, as you're bringing it back up again, you want to tap as you're bringing it back up. In this case, we're going to be playing in groupings of 4. So you're going to tap 3 times before you get that 4th hit or the first hit again, depending on how you want to count it. So listen to this demonstration. The faster you get with this, you're going to want to work on bouncing it. So by the actual initial whipping motion, the initial first hit, that's actually going to generate the energy required to get those bounces off. So I'm going to do that with the right hand, and I'm going to do that with the left hand. At first, you may want to just work on allowing the stick to whip down and actually just bouncing. So just let the stick bounce until it stops bouncing again. As you get comfortable with that, you can then work on, as the stick is bouncing, to bring your hand up to prepare yourself for the next hit. So I'm going to give you exercise 1, but both left-handed and right-handed. So this will be exercise 1 on the PDF. So listen to the demonstration and you just watch how my hand moves as I'm bouncing and bringing the hand back up while bouncing to prepare for that next hit or that next run. So here, take a look at this. So in those last exercises, we were doing 16th notes. In this exercise now we're going to be doing triplets. So now we're going to be bouncing in groupings of 3. This might be a little bit easier because now you don't have to hold the same amount of bounces. You only have to really bounce twice after the initial whip. So first of all, work on this without bouncing. Work on it by just guiding your hand down. So like this. Then, when you get comfortable with that, we could try bouncing. Now, like I said, this will be a little bit easier than the last one. So if you were able to do the last one, if you're able to do the 16th note, this one should be a cakewalk. Now we're going to work on grouping it in 2s. So this is a little bit easier. You can bounce this technically, but it's not like the other bounces where you have to work on generating the speed. The bounce can actually just be something that you develop over time. This technique is used a lot if you watch the 16th note videos that I did, or 16th note hi-hat groove videos, where you're playing with one hand. This is the technique I was using. This is something that you want to use while you're playing ska or you're playing any kind of fast hi-hat work. You can actually use this technique. So what you got to do is you're only going to tap once between the whips. So when you whip down, as you bring it up, just tap again. So if you were to count this as, say, 8th notes, which I have it written out in the PDF, the quarter notes, the 1, 2, 3, and 4, are where the dominant whip is going to be. And then the and is where you bring your hand up and then you tap on the way back up. And then you'll whip it back down again. As you're bringing it up, you tap, and it's just so on and so forth. So we'll count that out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you're playing 16th notes, obviously you'd be whipping down on the 1 and 2s, ands, 3s, and 4 ands. That would be your 8th note. So you'd be whipping down 1. You bring it back up for the E, and 2E, and 3E, and 4E, and This will take you a while. This is another thing that will occupy a lot of your time trying to work on. And I really suggest you work on this slowly, very slowly, and to metronome, of course. So with traditional grip, the movement is very, remember, almost like you're turning you're inverting your hand. This is obviously right side up, inverted, bringing this elbow out. So to achieve that hit, as you're bringing your hand around, you want to obviously tap again. First hit, second hit, like that, constantly bringing it around and around and around. I forgot to mention this though, but we're talking about playing them with the ska beats, the 16th note hi-hat grooves. You can also apply this to shuffle grooves. So say if you're playing shuffles on either your hi-hat or on your snare, obviously like blues or jazz. So this technique goes really well with that. So just something to keep in mind there. Now, like I also stated before, I want you to make sure that you put as much time into this as you can. If you can achieve this at a faster speed, if you can achieve this comfortably, this will bring your playing up to a completely different level. This is an amazing technique, the Moeller method, that is. It's very, I don't know, it's acclimated itself to the drum kit playing almost brilliantly, to the point where if you don't use it now, you'll actually be held back in the long run, because there'll be a lot of techniques that you won't be able to achieve or you won't be able to use because you don't know the basic Moeller techniques. So, really focus as much of your energy as you can on this. I suggest you get a practice pad, because you don't want to keep constantly playing on your drum kit at 12 o'clock at night, keeping everybody up. So this is something that you can do with just a simple practice pad. Doesn't require any leg work. It's easy. You can do this while you watch TV. Just make sure you use a metronome. So that's all for the Moeller pumping motion. I'm going to try to make as many Moeller related videos as I can. If you have any questions or comments, just feel free to ask. Contact me through the contact section at claytonskinner.com or right here on YouTube. Click the like button if you like it. This is a pretty tricky subject to try to teach. Hopefully I got the point across. Anyway, regardless of that, I will hopefully see you soon.